Hello and welcome to Wingin It. And in today's video, I'm going to be taking a look through some starting hand scenarios and giving some insight into my thought process when I'm picking a starting hand so that hopefully you can improve your decision making in that early game and pick the best possible starting hand. Now, I've done a few of these videos in the past, going a little bit more in depth into the sort of tips and tricks that I like to use when I'm faced with a starting hand. So if you've not seen those already, would recommend going and checking those out just so you have a bit of an idea of what I'm looking for, the kind of birds that I'm going for, the kind of things I'm thinking about when I am picking that starting hand. But if you have seen those, you can stick right here and we're going to jump into 3 different starting hand scenarios, and then I'm going to go back and pick the one I like the most. We're going to play through that first round and see how it pans out. So in each of these scenarios, what I want you to do is to think yourself, first of all, what would you be keeping? And then compare with me. Would you be keeping the same things as me? Would you maybe be doing things a little bit more differently? Let me know in the comments below in each case. Always good to hear your thoughts. And yeah, if there are any different ways of thinking and approaching these starting hands, always good to see discussion on those. And all right, here we go into starting hand scenario number 1. We're going second here in this game. All expansions included, of course. Let's take a look and see what we've got. Okay, well, this is definitely a very interesting starting hand, I think, when we've got 2 very, very nice tucking birds here in the Blackbird and the Martin. So very much a base game feel, but these 2 are very, very strong in combination here in the wetlands on the Oceania board. So yeah, straight away I'm looking at those 2. I mean, as a general rule, you look at the brown powers first and foremost, and you look for those cheap birds. I think these 2 are standouts here. Obviously, something like the Great Horned Owl, as big a point bird as it is, maybe a little bit expensive when we don't have the food access early on in the game. But yeah, initial views are that definitely looks very good. Of course, we're going to take a look at the tray. We're going second, so we're maybe not going to get first dibs on any of that. But again, some not bad options there. I think something like that yellow-bellied sapsucker could be helpful. I mean, we've got some birds here that eat worms, so that always helps. And likewise, honey buzzard. You feel like taking a gamble on that teal power, that could be quite a handy one as well. But yeah, as I say, definitely these 2 brown powers in the wetlands would catch my eye and definitely tempt me into going there. We'll take a look at the bonus cards as well, of course, and I think Bird Bander would be the keep here for me. So yeah, pretty straightforward choice. Normally easy enough to get at least 4 points off that in these Oceania games. So yeah, I think I'd be keeping these 2, I think, for sure. Get this Blackbird down. And as I say, maybe, I mean, if that yellow-bellied sapsucker is still there when it comes to turn 2, when you're ready to draw cards, I think that would make sense to go and pick that up. As I say, maybe tempted by the honey buzzard, but I like the sapsucker and maybe a bit more urgency. Getting the food and then, of course, getting this Martin down. And then I think you're away. You're just drawing cards. Yeah, it's a 3-point engine here, 2 tucks and an egg, of course. So really, really nice in the wetlands, and I think you just keep going with that until you get some more engine birds really to add to this and build out something really strong. So I think I would keep this food array, of course, with the starting nectar, definitely helpful as well for getting things down a little bit more quickly, maybe with some duplicated food costs. So yeah, I think this is a pretty strong and a pretty open start. We'll take a look at 2 more starting hands, and we'll see if we come back to this one later in the video. And so coming into starting hand number 2 here, we're going second again. We've got no goal round 1, so that might change things on the starting hand keep. But we'll come and take a look and see what we have got in terms of options. And okay, again, got some pretty good options here. Got some good brown powers that I like to see. I mean, Mountain Chickadee, always good, nice, cheap. Brown power to get down in the forest, of course, in Oceania. Getting that first forest bird down, just unlocking extra food access, so important. Getting some caches as well while you're at it, really, really nice. Can't look past Benelli's eagle either. I think in the starting hand, always going to be a tempting one to keep. Play that later, big points with some extra cards, so always a good one. And yeah, we've got a decent brown power here as well for the wetlands. I think here, white-faced heron, certainly do not dislike this one, resetting that bird feeder. Getting some fish and then being able to cache them if you so choose. So I think it's good to have that option. Sometimes early in the game might help to keep that fish, especially if you've drawn a good wetland bird. They normally eat fish, so you can play that. Maybe get a bit more card access going or some more points in that wetlands. But equally late game, you're scoring some points maybe with the caches there. So yeah, that feels particularly nice option. I will take a look at the bonus cards. We've got Bird Bander again, so maybe not quite such good options. Of course, Benelli would be nice for that. Bird Counter equally is a good option. We'll see maybe as the tray. Going to change our mind. I don't think it does. I don't think any of those are the kind of bird I'd go out of my way for. Maybe Cass and Sparrow. I mean, you know, probably the one glaring omission from this starting hand is going to be the lack of egg access. I think in Oceania it's so important to get that egg access from somewhere. Normally you try and get it out from the wetlands or from the forest so you're not having to go into the grasslands, but something like Cass and Sparrow with that brown power, getting extra eggs, it's not a bad option, and just reducing the number of turns you have to lay eggs and getting extra points when you do go into that grasslands is definitely nice. But yeah, I think in terms of starting hand, this feels quite sensible, quite straightforward. I think you're going to play the chickadee. You're going to take a bit of food, hopefully maybe get some nectar. We've got some nectar in the feeder, so that definitely helps in terms of playing a bird like this white-faced heron. And then I think you go digging, you go drawing cards. And like I say, Castor Sparrow is maybe an option that you go for. Could even look at that Nutcracker, to be honest, if you want to go for a bit of a caching engine in the forest. Just depends maybe if you get some more forest brown powers. Then, of course, with Benelli in hand, I mean, that's going to be a nice point bomb for later. And if the cards you're drawing aren't very good, they will just get fed into there. So I think I would keep Bird Band here again. It's a little bit more safe and secure for point scoring than Bird Counter. So I'll lock that one in. And again, not a bad option, not a bad starting hand here. We'll maybe see if we come back to this one later, or is game 3 going to top this? And so here we go into game number 3, starting hand number 3. Let's take a look what we have got to work with in this one. Okay, well, we've got a Maltese Warbler, which I always like to see. So that is going to be an instant keep. I think no questions asked there for me. But that is kind of where it ends. I'm not super interested in the rest of these options. I mean, maybe something like this Cuckoo could work well. You got the Cup Nest for the Maltese to lay some eggs in there, but yeah, not seeing the kind of resource generating brown powers that I think you do normally look for when you're going with a Maltese. So maybe, of course, going first, is the starting tray going to change it? We have got a Forster's Turn, and that probably does help because I think, yeah, wetlands is definitely where this starting hand is lacking. So nice to have an option like that. I mean, even Whooping Crane, I mean, that is a good one when you're going Moltoni, you're playing extra birds, go for those bonus card birds, always very, very nice. And speaking of bonus cards, let's take a look what we've got here. Okay, we've got Ecologist, so that I think is going to be a pretty safe keep. Again, with Maltese Warbler, with these teal powers, where you're playing extra birds, you know, you're filling more columns, you're filling more habitats, you're going to get extra points from something like Ecologist. So that feels like a safe keep, but yeah, this is an interesting starting hand, and the interesting approach here, I think, definitely some different ways that you could go about this. I'm kind of thinking this Carolina Wren might be quite handy at the start. Play that. That could let you pick up Forcer's Turn, maybe the Whooping Crane as well. And then you've got that first Forest Bird down. You could start taking food. Because I think that's going to be the key here, of course, with the Moltoni. Getting that extra food, especially, you know, with some of these expensive birds. Maybe if we do keep the Cuckoo, of course, that Whooping Crane as well. But yeah, I think you want to get that Forcer's Turn down as well pretty early on for the cheap food cost. So yeah, Cerulean Warbler as well. Always tempted again on these bonus cards when you're going all these teal powers. You kind of want as much as possible, but maybe a little bit of a greedy start, maybe a little bit of a tricky one in terms of the food. So some nectar in the feeder would be nice. We have got 1, so that could definitely change things a little bit. But yeah, I think honestly, I'd be keeping this Wren. I think it's important to get that down, get a bit more food access, as I say, just with another bird down, but also importantly, snagging those lovely tray birds in the turn and the crane. So I'd probably leave the Cerulean Warbler, and to be honest, I'd probably leave the Cuckoo as well. I think here in the early game, it's keeping that extra food is going to be key. So this way, I think, you know, we keep the food for the Wren and the Maltese Warbler, and of course that Forcer's Turn that I think we're going to want to play pretty early on. And then we maybe only have to take food once or twice in this early game just to be getting these birds down. I think that feels pretty sensible to me. So that's what I'd be keeping. That's what I'd be locking in. Is this going to be the game that we come back to? We will find out. And so there we go. Those were the 3 starting hands that we have walked through in this video. We are going to pick one to go through that first round and see how it plays out. And if you've watched any of my videos, you know I'm a sucker for a full tuck. So we are going to go with starting hand number 1. And we're going to see how this plays out, because I think this is a very, very strong opening on these Oceania boards with these 2 wetland birds. So I think, as I say, we're going to play this yellow-headed blackbird first of all. We're going to save the nectar, because I think the plan is that we pick up that sapsucker. We can, of course, use the nectar on that opponent. Of course, the AI here going for lots of predators birds, but they have left that in the tray for me. So, yeah, I think that is going to be one that I look at picking up. Common cuckoo, not a bad option either. But, yeah, I think you can get tucked. And getting that egg early on, super, super important. So that's really, really nice for us here, because it's just going to enable playing a bird like this purple martin so much more quickly. Getting that early game tempo is so key, just unlocking more points, of course, in that wetland. So we'll get our sapsucker down. And it almost doesn't matter what food we get, really, when we gain food. Of course, if I can get my hands on that nectar, I would definitely like it. We are going to be able to do that. But yeah, of course, the brown power here in this sapsucker is going to give us a worm. So knowing that and being aware of that, I'm going to take a seed here. Just planning a little bit to get slightly different food going forwards in this game. But yeah, we could use, of course, the nectar, I think, here on the martin. And then we're going to have 3 turns left. And a key thing to think about when you're going with something like yellow-headed blackbird, these kind of tuck and lay birds, you've got to think about your egg space. Think about how much capacity you've got there for using that. And of course here, we've got 3 spaces, so we could just go and draw cards 3 times here. We will see what comes up first of all. So yeah, I'm just going to go off the top of the deck, see what kind of options we can get. We've definitely got some nice ones here. I think Belzeria might be good for later. Again, thinking about this sapsucker giving us worms, being able to play a bird like Belzeria hits our bonus card might be a nice option. So yeah, I think that Sister Cola can be the one that gets tucked. Do have to think maybe a little bit about this end of round. So opponent kind of, keeping their options open here. They have got a food. They might be able to play something. So we are, we're in pole position at the moment. But if we can find another wetland bird, that would definitely be nice. Maybe not something like this. Common Baganza, I think that can go. And I am looking now at this honey buzzard. Of course, we have got the food for that. I think that could be quite a good one to get down here in this round 1. And just build up that forest a little bit more. Maybe give us some worms through the teal power. So I think I will grab that. And yeah, coming into our last turn of the round, looks like we are going to win at this end of round goal. We'll get this honey buzzard down. So we'll see if that's going to hit on these worms. Definitely hoping that it will here. So what are we going to get? 3 worms. 3 worms is pretty good, so I think we're happy with that. And that's really good for this tempo going into round number 2. So there we go. That is the end of round 1. We won the end of round goal. We've got a really solid foundation, and we've got a pretty nice tray there as well. Galar and white-faced heron, both very, very tasty looking options. But I think really the strength here is just this wetlands at the start. We'll score 3 points each time. We're looking at 3 cards. Really, really solid opening, and yeah, we can just add to that, find some more tucking birds, find some more nice wet and brown powers, and I feel like this is the kind of game that's just going to be on rails if you follow through with that and get the engine going. Maybe get some nice bonus cards like this Belzeria. So yeah, definitely a nice starting hand, and I feel like this is a good foundation to build from. And so there we have it. Those were 3 starting hands, and of course going through that first one in a little bit more detail through that first round. So hopefully you found that useful. Hopefully you got a little bit of insight into how I approach these starting hands, the kind of things I'm looking for, the kind of thought process that I'm following to make the best decisions. And hopefully you can employ some of that thinking in your next game of Wingspan. Hopefully you enjoyed watching. If you want to see more gameplay and strategy videos, I've got plenty more on this channel, so do go ahead and check those out. Make sure you hit that subscribe button as well, and I look forward to seeing you in another video very, very soon.